never fly WestJet ever again. So basically they're telling me, fuck off, stop emailing us. And she was trying to gaslight me, and she's like, no, it literally says your bag's here. WestJet seemed to be the one airline to not get their fucking shit together. Flair got me to Arizona and WestJet couldn't. Because all I was doing was worrying about how I was getting there, when I was getting there, and where the fuck my bag was. The way airport staff treats luggage is beyond me. No business has ever made me break down and cry because I was so frustrated. Let's hope this is focused on me today. All right, wow. I've been wanting to film this video for quite some time now, and I actually had filmed it the other day, and I realized afterwards that I was blurry. So, we are refilming this now, praying to God we are in focus. By the looks of it, I am. If not, well, I guess that sucks to be me. I'm not refilming this again. So, let's get right into why we are all here today. And that is why I am no longer flying WestJet. So, this isn't just one story. This isn't just two stories. This is 3 aggravating stories. And I'm excited to share them with you guys. Apparently I didn't want to have my email pulled up beforehand, so we're just going to quickly pull that up now. Our story begins in 2022, May of 2022. And I had flown to Vancouver to see my ex at the time. And flight there, easy breezy, beautiful. Flight on the way home, not so much. First things first is I was there on a weekend, and I was leaving on the Monday, and I worked the next day on the Tuesday. I worked full time. I was a manager. I was working about 6 days a week, like a lot of hours. I needed to be there. So I booked it for Monday, and it's Sunday evening. I go to bed early, or we go to bed early because I have to wake up for a very early flight. And he was starting a brand new job at 9 a.m. And for the time that I needed to be at the airport, it worked out perfectly. It's like, I booked my flight through Cheapo Air. And just a little disclaimer before I get into the video, anything that I'm reading off of my computer, I will actually put on the screen as well for you guys to see. And I got an alert late that evening. It was like 10:30, but I was probably already in bed. And it was telling me that my flight schedule for my trip had changed. And this is what the email said from Cheapo Air. Dear Colby Platt, your airline changed the flight schedule for your trip. There could be many reasons for this change, including the airline's need to revise its departure times, change aircraft type, or change routing. The airline's new schedule for your trip, which you can access here, is available for a limited time, so we encourage you to review it and accept it quickly. Now, I unfortunately don't have the notification that I got from WestJet either, as I believe I got it through the app when you get notifications. So unfortunately, I don't have that. However, I remember waking up at like 5 a.m. when I was supposed to wake up, and I see an email or a message on my phone being like, oh, your flight's now changed from this time instead of this time. And I was like, sweet, I have an extra hour to sleep. So what do? I go back to bed. And I think we left around 7:30-ish. just before 7:30, to get me to the airport for like 8:15. And I get to the airport. I go to the little kiosk thing to check in because I did have to check my bag. And I needed my bag ticket. Well, I get to the little like self-serve kiosk thing and it said, oh, like it's way too early to check in. And I was like, what? Way too early to check in? What do you mean? I'm standing there like so confused. And so I go on my phone and I'm like reading this now, email message further. Well, it changed to the next day. And I was like, the next day? What? Now, I remember that I was like, what the fuck? Like, you guys gave me less than 9 hours to, one, know about this change and this delay. It's not a canceled flight. It's they said it was a delayed flight. Your flight's delayed until the next day. So I'm like, okay. And I'll say this, they didn't give any explanation on why the flight was delayed. Nothing. So I was assuming it was within WestJet's control. Now I'm panicking at the airport because I'm like, well, what the fuck do I do? Like, where am I supposed to go? At the time, me and my ex had like rented this Airbnb that we went to. And he was going back to the place that he was like staying at. It wasn't his place. So it's not like I could just go back there too. Also, my ex was on the way back home to prep for his new job that he was starting. Why call him bawling my eyes out, panicking, and I didn't know what to do. Like, I didn't have money to like go afford a Vancouver hotel. Like, I think y'all know how expensive those hotels are. And I had work the next day. Like, I still need to make money here. And he's like, you know what, it's fine, I'll turn around. But like, when you're like, he wasn't that far away, which was like super nice. But he turns around, comes and gets me. I'm like still crying, duh. And we're like rushing back. And like, mind you, it's like a 45-minute drive back. And he needed to be there before 9 o'clock. And it was already 8:30. We are zooming down the highway. Thank God we made it back with like 2 minutes to spare. And it was a remote job that he was starting. So that was fine. And the person's place he was staying at was totally cool with me staying. He wasn't even home. It was fine. So I messaged WestJet. And I'm like, what the fuck? I put in a claim to APPR, Air Passenger Protection Rights. And so I put in my little thing, you know, I give screenshots of everything, I explain my situation. I mean, I probably was over a little dramatic as well because I did end up having a place to stay. But what if I didn't? What if I didn't have a place to stay? I would have had to stay on the fucking airport floor until the next day. So they're like, thank you for contacting us. This is confirmation that we have received your claim. Your satisfaction is important to us. We will review your claim details and will respond to your inquiry within 30 days of this submission. They message me back and they're like, hello, Colby. Thank you for your patience during the recent interruption to your travel plans. WestJet is an industry leader in on-time performance, and we aim to have all our flights arrive on schedule. We apologize that your flight on May 23rd, 2022 was impacted. Based on the details of your itinerary, we are unable to approve your claim for compensation as your flight was impacted due to flight crew availability and was required for safety purposes. Now, that information of flight crew availability and safety purposes was never mentioned. They just said, we're delaying your flight. I wasn't taking no for an answer. So I put in another claim and I waited. And then I got another message back from WestJet. It says, hello, Colby. Thank you for submitting your APPR claim. Our records show that we have received multiple submissions from your APPR claim. When submitting an APPR claim, only one claim is required per flight itinerary, which includes the original departure city to the final destination. We can confirm your claim has been adjudicated and our reply was sent to my email on June 12th, 2022. As such, this duplicate will not be reviewed. Please accept our apologies for any inconveniences caused by the interruption to your travel plans. We appreciate your continued support and hope to have the opportunity to welcome you on board again. So I said, hello, I know I submitted a claim previously, but you guys denied it and went against what your website says under flyers' rights. So now I have to fight and try to get the money your website says I would get in my situation. This is absolutely ridiculous that I even have to put in another claim. What is your company going to do about this? You guys aren't making this easy at all. This was the only way I could get in contact with you guys aside from phoning because there isn't an email listed on your website. I work 6 days a week and I have no time to call, so how else am I supposed to get a hold of WestJet? I had even gone down to my local airport and they are the ones who told me to either email or call. I'm going to back up a little bit here. So when I said went against what your website said, they did. Under flight delays, cancellations, and schedule changes for passenger rights on WestJet's website, it says within WestJet's control, I would be receiving compensation for this. Now, there's different versions of compensation, or depending on the length of the delay. For 3 to 6 hours, you get $400. For 6 to 9 hours, you get $700. And for 9 or more hours, you get $1,000. My flight was delayed over 24 hours. So of course I was like, yeah, give me my money, especially because I had to miss a day of work. And I even went down, like I said in the email, that I went down to, so I was living in Winnipeg at the time. I went down to the Winnipeg airport to try to see if I could talk to a WestJet representative. Unfortunately, they couldn't do anything because the people that work at the kiosks are technically third party and they are unable to do anything about it. The workers were sweet, they were kind. I didn't get up in their bush about it. I left it and I was like, well, I don't have time to call. And like I said earlier, I work 6 days a week, 8+ hours a day, sometimes 7 days a week. I didn't have time to sit around and be on hold for 10 hours. I just didn't. So of course, I would do everything in my power to get a hold of them via email. They email me back and they say, hello Colby, we are sorry you are disappointed with the outcome of your claim adjudication under the APPR. We have reviewed your claim again and confirm our previous decision that compensation is not owing as a result of this matter. As such, your claim has been closed and there will be no further escalation within WestJet. So basically they're telling me, fuck off, stop emailing us. And I wasn't taking that for an answer. So I emailed back and I said, this is absolutely ridiculous. You're going against WestJet's flyers rights. The fact that you guys can't even follow what your own company says they will do is pathetic. I have lost money because of WestJet. I have bills that I need to be paid, and all you guys can do is nothing. I will continue contacting WestJet until this matter is resolved. So not only did I contact APPR, I also contacted, what's it called? The Canadian air regulation rights, blah, 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 blah. Which, funny enough, they ended up messaging me 2 years later being like, we're gonna resolve this for you. Didn't worry about it. So now it is September 28th, 2023. So over a year later, I get an email from WestJet APPR saying, hello Colby, upon further review of your claim for compensation under APPR, we acknowledge that our previous determination was incorrect. Your claim has since been approved as the impact was due to an issue within WestJet's control. We sincerely apologize for any inconvenience our previous determination may have caused. Your claim has been approved for $1,000. I was I literally wanted to lose my fucking shit so badly. I don't understand how it took you guys over a year to realize you fucked up. Not me. I wasn't wrong. I literally went off what your website said. And the fact that you guys can't figure your shit out, wow. That just leads into story number 2. Just gonna have some water if you guys wanna, grab some snacks. It is now January 11th, 2024. So, little backstory. I am going to the States, to Phoenix. And the reason why I was going was for a creator content trip. And the person that I was friends with at the time that was hosting these trips had a giveaway. I won the giveaway. And so what was included in that? My flights, my accommodations, food, blah, 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 blah. And so, sweet. Well, who am I booked with? WestJet. I also will throw out there, I very much appreciate winning this giveaway. I appreciate the person who hosted this content trip, creator trip, whatever you want to call it. And I appreciate that my flight was covered. So it is, I will also do a little disclaimer that Calgary was going through a cold front at this time. So I'm now living in Calgary. Calgary was going through a cold front. However, to me, that's not an excuse on why your plane can't get off the fucking ground. So, I have a bright and early wake up time. I need to be at the airport. I think it was for like 7 a.m. No, like 6 a.m. I think, something like that. And I get to the airport. Everything's all good. Checked in. Sitting on the flight. Well, flight's delayed. And it's delayed. And it's delayed. And a bunch of us, not just me, we have connections in Vancouver. So now I was flying from Calgary to Vancouver, Vancouver to Arizona. Now I'm starting to panic because I'm like, well, fuck, if this plane doesn't take off in the next 5 minutes, I'm not making this fucking flight. And neither were so many other people on the plane. And I get an email being like, so I was supposed to leave on January 11th. They had changed my flight and they didn't want me flying out until it was like 3 days later. And I was like, absolutely no way. Now I'm like trying to get a hold of someone being like, well, what do I do? Well, because I had a checked bag and with WestJet's policies, I was forced to stay on that flight. I wasn't allowed to get off, even if I wanted to. I wasn't allowed to get off because my baggage was on the plane. And you're not allowed to get off. So what did I have to do? I had to fly to Vancouver. And so missed the connecting flight because I had no choice. And I'm literally on hold, in line, and online, waiting to see whoever I get to first about what they can do. So, and I'm like begging them, please I knew there was an Air Canada flight leaving at like 4:30 that day from Vancouver to Phoenix because one of the girls who was also going on this trip was flying from Kelowna to Vancouver, Vancouver to Phoenix. They refused to put me on another airline. And I was like, we promise we'll get you there. We promise we'll get you there. Stop making promises. That's one thing I'm going to say for sure. Stop making promises. I'm like, I don't trust you guys. Put me on another airline. Refused. They're like, well, what we can do is fly you back to Calgary. And there's an evening flight that you can take and you will get there late in the evening. Fine. I clearly have no other option since you guys are refusing to put me on another airline. And I will say that there was a mid-afternoon flight going directly to Phoenix, Arizona. And one of my old friends at the time was on that flight. And he actually was on the tarmac for like 5 hours before they finally took off. So I get back to Calgary, and now I have to go through this like weird thing or whatever because I don't know, it's just like this weird part of the airport that you have to go through because I have to like redo customs all over again. But because my bags were like now coming back, even though they had already been like declared to go to the States, it was just some weird thing. But anyways, I'm like in this little waiting area and they're like, okay, well you can't leave this area until your bags have come through. And you'll see on the screen. Well, I checked my air tag. My bag is still in Vancouver. And I wish I had this employee's name because I would blast them so hard. Unfortunately, I don't. But if I was her boss, I would have fired her immediately for how she treated me. So I go up to her and I'm like, my bag's not gonna come through, like it's still in Vancouver. And I know with air tags, they sometimes take a while to update, but mine was updating like every 10 minutes and it was still in Vancouver. And she was trying to gaslight me and she's like, no, it literally says your bag's here, it's in the system, your air tag's wrong. Like basically calling me an idiot. She's like, so go sit down and wait till your bag comes up. And I'm like, all right. Well, all the bags have been cleared. And whose hasn't shown up? Mine. And she's like, no, I can see that your bag's here. It's fine. Blah, 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 blah. She like is writing on this piece of paper, hands it to me. She's like, Kate, go on your merry way. So I go to the customs officer and I hand him the piece of paper and he's like, oh, your bag's in Vancouver? And I was like, oh no, the lady told me it's here. She told me my air tag was lying to me. And he's like, she wouldn't have handed you this if your air tag wasn't right. This bitch tried to gaslight me. I was furious. So I'm back in Calgary and my bag's in Vancouver. Anyways, a problem I had to deal with at a later time. So I am walking into the gate, make it to the gate, not even 5 minutes of being there. Over the PA they go, yeah, so the flight to Phoenix to Calgary is actually canceled. Oh, you're fucking with me. I break the fuck down. I'm having the biggest not meltdown, but like anxiety, panic, like I was not well. And I literally had so many people asking me if I was okay. I was not well. I even called my friend who was already there to like talk to him about this. Such a nice guy, so nice to me about everything, like reassured me that everything was gonna be okay, that I was gonna make it, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I was at a loss for words because WestJet seemed to be the one airline to not get their fucking shit together. Everybody else was taking off. WestJet just is incompetent, I guess. And then I overhear that the reason why our flight didn't take off was because the pilots decided to go on a different flight. Really? It's comical at this point. So we are now having to be escorted out. We have to go through like the international part where you like get your bags and all that. And I go to missing bags and put in my claim. And as I'm doing this, like one, I'm pissed off. So as I'm filling out this form, I'm like, and again, WestJet rebooked my flight to the 15th and I had to leave the 16th in Arizona. So that wasn't working. That like, I literally was gonna give up at that point. Like, but I didn't want to because I knew that my flight was already paid for, you know? Like, and I get it wasn't my money, but still. And I paid for my luggage, and my luggage wasn't even with me. So, as I'm like, my mind is everywhere. it's literally now like 9:30, 10 o'clock at this point. So it's been a full fucking day of Calgary to Vancouver, Vancouver back to Calgary. And over 12 hours of this shit. I'm filling out my form and, well, I knew WestJet wasn't going to get me to Arizona. So what did I do? I booked a last minute flight with Flair the next day at 6 a.m. And little side note, because I was so flustered, I accidentally paid for a check bag with Flair, even though I didn't have a checked bag. Because I was in Vancouver. So I now am leaving. I call my Uber. I'm halfway home in my Uber. Well, I left one of my bags at the airport. So I asked the Uber driver to drive me back. Went to go see if I could find it. Couldn't find it. So I told him to just drive off. Don't worry about me. Charge me whatever you need to. I go to the WestJet counter because I'm like, I have a feeling I left it in the baggage claim area on the international side, so I can't even access that. You can't go back. So I go there, and now it's already like 10:30, or 10:15-ish, and now I'm sitting there waiting, I think, for about almost 45 minutes to an hour, because when I wish I could give this guy recognition because he was literally an angel in disguise. I actually sometimes see him at the airport still. He calls back and he's like, hey, is there a bag there? Like, this girl left it there. Can we get it up to the front?
I also forgot to mention that when I was talking with the WestJet employee about leaving my bag at the back, the person that he was calling back to was the lost baggage for WestJet. So they were talking with a WestJet employee.
Yep, the bag's here, but we're too busy right now to bring it up to the front, so we can't do that. Okay. They're like, call us back in a little bit. He's like, I'm so sorry. Like, I'll call back in like half an hour, blah, blah, blah. Half an hour goes by. And I go back up to the desk. I'm like, can we please try again? And they call. And he's like, nope, too busy to bring it back to you. I'm like, are you fucking with me right now? I want to sleep at this point. And the guy's like, you know what? I'm just going to go back there myself. This man went and grabbed it for me. And so at this point, it's already 11 o'clock and I'm like, there's no point in me going home. So my mom was kind enough to book me a airport hotel to stay at for a couple hours because I had to be back at the airport for like 4:30. So go there, hang out. I think I slept for a little bit, get back to the airport. And you want to know what happened? I made it to Arizona with Flair. So shout out to Flair for getting me to Arizona that day. We were a little delayed. However, the plane took off. You heard that right. Flair got me to Arizona and WestJet couldn't. So now so I ended up extending my stay by one extra day, just to give myself that extra day, I guess. I don't know. Was it worth staying that extra day? Probably not, but whatever. But I get there and it sucks because now I have to Uber by myself 45 minutes because where we were staying was so far away. And originally I was just gonna share an Uber with a bunch of people that were arriving at the same time, but now I couldn't. So that was like $100 Uber ride that I'll never get back. And get to the house and what do I start doing? I start figuring out my luggage shit. I spent 85% of that trip figuring out where my luggage was. And so when I did arrive, I had already pre-ordered stuff from Instacart. It was toothpaste, deodorant, micellar water, and I think one other thing. until, because a bunch of people were out at this cool little hike thing that I never got to participate in, until they came back, so that a few of them took me to the city to shop. And originally, the people that I was speaking to about, like, oh, like, how much am I allowed to spend? They're like, oh, well, we start off at like $75 a day. $75 a day? Really? A pair of jeans barely cost $75 anymore. I went to the mall, and I didn't buy many clothes just because it was hard for me to like actually want to buy clothes, but I did need to buy hair products, skincare, and makeup. It was a like content creator thing. I dropped $762.89 USD. I'll let you guys can do the conversion on that, but I think it's around $1,100 Canadian. I didn't have that kind of money to spend, but I didn't have a choice. I didn't. Some of you can sit there and be like, oh, you didn't need to do that, blah, 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 blah. I did. I wasn't gonna shower or wash my face or get any content, like I was just gonna sit there and do nothing. I might as well have not even gone at that point. So each day I am there, I am trying and trying and trying to be like, where the fuck is my bag? And for most of the time, it was sitting in Vancouver. And I kept telling these people, like I was calling people for hours on end, emailing people. My mom was trying to communicate with people. My bag was still in Vancouver. And I don't understand how an airline can be just so incompetent. And then finally, it makes it to Calgary because they told me my bag had to go back to Calgary first. Great. Oh, we'll send it on the next flight out. Okay. Didn't go on the next flight out. Oh, we'll send it on the next flight out. Okay. Didn't go on the next flight out. So I went my entire trip with none of my shit. Nothing. I even had to buy a new suitcase now to bring certain stuff home. And so I get to the airport the day that I'm leaving now, and I go to the WestJet desk, and I'm like, any chance my luggage is here? Oh, let's go check in the back. Okay. They come back out. Oh yeah, we have your luggage right here. It arrived this morning. Great. Great. Sorry, we had to adjust the settings there. It was starting to get too dark for my liking. So I said to them, and I'm like, well, I hope you know I'm not paying for a second luggage. Because now I have two. Thankfully, the people at that airport were so kind and did not make me pay, and they were like, we're not going to make you pay. Like, this is clearly our fault. Thank you for finally admitting to me that something is your guys' fault. And I ended up getting all my money back, everything. I literally would have fought to get that money back if they wouldn't have given me everything back. But I have never had a business put me through so much stress. Like, I couldn't even enjoy that trip. I didn't enjoy that trip at all. Because all I was doing was worrying about how I was getting there, when I was getting there, and where the fuck my bag was. That's like, it's ridiculous. And like I said, I didn't have the money to just drop and buy a whole new wardrobe for this trip and like all of this stuff. I didn't have that kind of money. So, yeah, we got the money about like a month later, I would say. And yeah. So that's that story. And that's probably the worst experience I've ever had with them. And like the fact that I don't think anybody felt bad about it. So now we will move on to story number 3. This one is just a little wrap up of it all. It's not the worst one. It's not the best either. But it haunted me. No, I'm not kidding. It didn't haunt me. That last one haunted me, though. Like, literally haunted me. Also, if this isn't your sign to get a air tag in your bag, please, please, please purchase air tags and put them in your bags. Okay, so last one. I flew, unfortunately, with WestJet to back from Miami because I was there for Miami Swim Week, and my flight there, easy breezy beautiful. My flight home, I thought it was going to be easy breezy beautiful, but it turned out it wasn't easy breezy beautiful. So I flew from Miami to somewhere, don't remember where, and then somewhere back to Calgary. Flight from Miami to somewhere in the States, no issue. Now the flight to Calgary, well, they're like, they stopped me on one of the, like, I don't know, I think I'm like zone 4, I don't know. And they're like, they stopped me, and they're like, put a tag on my bag, and I'm like, what is this? Oh, you need to check your bag. Excuse me, you didn't even ask if I wanted to check my bag. They're like, we're all full. I was like, yeah, I can't check this. I have stuff in here that needs to stay with me. I had some of my camera gear in there, my meds were in there, and they're like, we don't care, you need to check it. And as I watched them take my bag and huck it, like, onto the ramp to go down below, I'm like, are you fucking with me right now? The way airport staff treats luggage is beyond me. That is an issue in itself. But I get on the plane, and you know what I see? So much empty room. So what do? I go back out and I go complain. And she's like, well, we can't do anything now because your bag's already there. And I was like, are you fucking with me? I was like, I don't want to check my bag because you guys are going to lose it. And you know what she says to me? I promise we won't lose it. It's going to get to your destination. Airlines, please stop making promises you cannot keep. Because what happened when I arrived in Calgary? Well, my main luggage showed up, but did my carry-on that they forced me to check show up? No, it didn't. I literally just have like no words for WestJet employees. Like, you guys gaslight, you guys lie, you guys are just, some of y'all are just awful people. Some of y'all, sweet humans. And to the sweet ones that still work for the company, why? Yeah, I just like, I have no words for this airline, so I'm never flying with them again. I unfortunately did have to fly with them one more time in December when I went to Tulum because I had an air credit, what the fuck? I had a credit with them because of a flight that I had to cancel. That's the only reason why I flew with them in December, was just to use the credit because it needed to be used. But I know my stories aren't the only ones, and I know there's issues all the time with airlines the more and more you travel. I've had my luggage lost before, but I got it back within like a day or two, so it wasn't anything that I really needed to worry about, and I could just borrow my friend's clothes, and I had everything else that I needed with me. And, you know, just the other day, this girl that I know posted on her Snapchat that she was flying with WestJet Priority, so she had a priority tag on her bag. And what did WestJet do? Snapped her handle right off her suitcase. And then a couple months ago, this woman was flying, this Asian woman, I need to say that, was flying back from Winnipeg to LA, because LA is where she lived, and she was in Winnipeg for work. And I'm not going to get into the full story just because it isn't my story. However, it first was actually posted on Threads, and then it made its way over to TikTok. But WestJet was racist. It was a white, middle-aged woman who was racist. I have just never, like, I'm just so flabbergasted. Like, I've never had a company treat me so horribly and treat their customers so horribly that, I've no business has ever made me break down and cry because I was so frustrated and upset and angry and stressed. But I know you guys were waiting for this story for a while. It's here now. I'm happy that I'm finally sharing it. And if this gets to WestJet, I really hope it does. Fuck you. That's all I have to say. Fuck you. I don't even know if those words are allowed on YouTube. I'll have to Google it, but yeah, that is my story on why I will never fly WestJet ever again. So that is all for now. And if you really enjoyed this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to follow along more of my travels, life, whatever it may be. And I can't wait to see you guys in the next video. Until then, bye.